This week in Jamaica Now, a party promoter is among 5 nabbed in the latest major fraud case unravelling in Jamaica. Jean-Ann Panton, the only person charged in the SSL fraud case, denied bail again. Foreign Minister Kamina Johnson is facing a lawsuit. She says the allegations are baseless. And Jamaica says the US needs to do more to fight the flow of guns into the Caribbean. I'm Jovan Johnson, and this is Jamaica Now. 5 current and former employees of the government's Institute of Sports, InSports, have been charged in an alleged $222 million fraud at the entity. The major organized crime and anti-corruption agency MOCA announced on Wednesday that 3, Andrew Wright, Rudolph Barnes and O'Neill Hope, were nabbed. Mr. Wright is the promoter of the Chug It and French Connection parties. Those 3 are charged with various offences including conspiracy to defraud, acquisition, use and possession of criminal property, engaging in transactions involving criminal property, and larceny as a servant. And on Thursday, MOCA announced that 2 others, Janique Mills and Andrea Picton, were arrested and charged with conspiracy to defraud, with Mills facing an additional charge of forgery. MOCA alleges that the 5 were part of a team that wrote, signed and encashed fraudulent checks for payees who were neither employees nor contracted workers of InSports. The alleged fraud took place between 2011 and 2017. In her reaction, Sports Minister Olivia Grain said the alleged irregularities took place during a time when InSports was considered what she calls a rogue agency. She said InSports, which promotes sports at the community level, is a transformed agency with improved internal controls. A renewed bail application for the accused in the multi-billion-dollar Stocks and Securities Limited SSL fraud, Jean-Ann Panton, was refused by a High Court judge on Thursday. Justice Vinette Graham Allen, however, ordered that Ms. Panton should be assigned a nursing aid during her incarceration. The decision came at the end of a 2-day application by Ms. Panton's attorney Sylvester Hemmings. A medical doctor who has examined the accused fraudster testified on Wednesday that despite her claims, he saw nothing to indicate that she suffered a stroke while in custody. Ms. Panton is charged with the breaches of the Larceny Act, the Proceeds of Crime Act, the Forgery Act and the Cybercrimes Act in relation to the fraud scandal. She was first refused bail in late February. And the Supreme Court on Friday lifted an injunction against founder and former director of the investment firm SSL, Hugh Croskery. His lawyer, Neco Pagon, says the Financial Services Commission, which is a regulator for the securities industry, has also been ordered to pay Mr. Croskery's legal fees. The FSC had obtained the injunction on January 25 to block SSL's directors from dealing with the company's assets more than a week after the company reported a multi-million-dollar fraud. Labour and Social Security Minister Karl Samuda says at least 85% of the 25,000 security guards islandwide have signed new employment contracts in spite of concerns raised about the alleged breach of rights in the contracts. Following a court ruling last year, security firms are transitioning guards from being independent contractors to employees. But some security guards have refused to sign the contracts, claiming that the agreements have denied them benefits under the law. Mr. Samuda told Parliament on Wednesday that 88 security guards lodged formal complaints with the ministry.
All security guards are workers and are therefore to be guaranteed vacation leave, sick leave, overtime, maternity leave, where applicable, and all minimum standards for decent work in Jamaica. I emphatically state that any agreement that is in breach of these labor standards should be brought before the ministry for immediate intervention, and there will be absolutely no compromise on that.
But opposition spokesperson on Labour, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, says she was not comforted by the minister's statement that he's seen no evidence of rights being breached in contracts.
It is not enough to simply say you want to make sure that every security guard has an employment contract. Because as we all know, the devil is in the details. If you have received complaints from these workers, then I would imagine, like I do, like other lawyers do, like other unions do, that you also have copies of the contracts themselves. I cannot fathom for the life of me how you could have in your possession contracts that basically deny workers of their rights, rights that you have agreed are in law. And that becomes just a case-by-case basis. It can't.
The donation by private sector players towards Foreign Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith's failed 2022 bid for Commonwealth Secretary General is now the subject of a lawsuit filed in the Supreme Court. Jamaica-born retired U.S. law enforcement agent Wilfred Rattigan, who filed the lawsuit, is seeking a declaration that both Mrs. Johnson-Smith and her ministry did not comply with the law and the directive by the Finance Ministry that require them to report the donation as a gift. In a Twitter post on Thursday, Mrs. Johnson-Smith said she was not aware of any lawsuit. She said the allegations are baseless, untrue and defamatory. Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness is rallying his counterparts in the Caribbean to press the United States to do more to stem the flow of American-made guns fueling killings in CARICOM countries. He was speaking at a regional crime summit this week in Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Holness argued that the Caribbean has assisted the United States in its war on drugs, and the U.S. must now assist the region in its war on guns.
Our children are being killed. Our young males are being killed, with guns exchanged for drugs which head to North America. Our children are just as valuable as the children in North America. There has to be equal energy, effort, and attention paid to preventing illegal guns coming into our country as we pay effort, energy, and attention in preventing illegal drugs going to their country.
And Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, hit out against judges in the region who grant bail to persons accused of murder. He questioned whether the judges live in the societies or are from Mars.
Too many of our judges and our magistrates are too soft. Sometimes you get the impression that some magistrates, depending on who is the lawyer, their people seem to get a better treatment, their clients. Everybody talks about this, but they talk about it behind closed doors. You don't hear it from a prime minister. Well, let us begin to talk about these things too. How can you go and give up somebody who is charged for murder bail? Let's be serious. How can you do that? I saw in the numbers from the Bahamas. Where those judges live? On Mars?
The CARICOM leaders have agreed to ban assault weapons in the region except for security forces and sporting competitions. They've also agreed to support Mexico's lawsuit against U.S. gun manufacturers and retailers. Government and opposition members have expressed sadness at the deaths of former Chief Justice Lensley Wolfe and former Mayor of Kingston, Colleen Yap. Justice Lensley Wolfe died on Tuesday at the age of 85. He served as Chief Justice from 1996 to 2007 and was often described by his colleagues as a hard-working and eminent jurist. And the former Mayor Yap died on Monday. Mrs. Yap was the second female mayor of Kingston, having served from 1982 to 1984. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, turn on the notification and subscribe today. I'm Jovan Johnson, and before we go, why a recently deported Joy Thorpe plans to sue the United States.
You were trafficking cocaine. How long ago was this? What year?
That was almost, let me see, it's February 25th, 21.
Where were you arrested?
At the JF Kennedy Airport.
In New York?
Yes.
And how much were you carrying?
The feds say it was half a kilo.
You went under inhumane conditions.
Oh, yes.
Can you tell me what that means?
Food you don't get. The food is like a pig dinner. Yes. Your medicine, which I show you, you don't get. And when I don't get my life-saving medicine, then you know it's death coming.
Do you believe that you were treated based on the fact that you were an immigrant?
Oh, yes. Not me alone. It's a lot of immigrants there They are feeling the pinch of hell. If I never see hell, but I see hell in Alabama.
You believe that your sentencing should have been 1 year and 6 months. Where did you get that kind of information from?
Because there is a First Step Act in that America. Everybody come out on it. They are now in Louisiana, where I was, waiting to go home. And I went to my case manager and asked my case manager, Mr. What about my First Step Act? He said, not due to you because you are aliens and all the rest of aliens gotten theirs. So what about mine?
So are you saying then that you are going to sue the U.S. government?
I ain't afraid of them because they're not afraid of me. They're not afraid of you when they're wicked into you, you know. They don't care who you are. They be just wicked into you.